Hi all. I have this Willow Wheels cake. It has 177 yards. It's a 3 weight. It says to use a 3.75 millimeter hook, but I'm using a 4. This is color Flora. So that's what this color is. And I think this is, yeah, 70% acrylic, 30% wool. So it's actually a very soft yarn. Let's do a slip knot. So let's do 3 chains. Let's do a double crochet in that first chain you made, which is 3 chains from the hook. Okay, let's do another one, another double crochet. So you have 3 double crochets. Now do 3 chains. Turn your work. Do 2 more double crochets into the top of that double crochet. Okay, and then we're going to do 3 double crochets on the far side over here. And you only want to go under 2 yarns, like that. Do you see that? 2 yarns, 2 loops over your hook. And that'll create a little space that you can make another granny cluster. Okay, do 3 chains, 1, 2, 3. Turn your work. Do 2 more double crochets. You want to go straight from that double crochet into a bean stitch. You yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop and pull it up high. Yarn over again, pull it up high, yarn over again. So that was 3 times. Pull it through and do a chain to hold it, to cinch it shut. Now you're going to do that 2 more times in this space. So it's 1, 2, 3. Yarn over, pull up a loop, pull it up high. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop. That's 3 times. Pull it through, and then chain to cinch. Okay? It's got those 3 beans in that space. Now straight over, no chains or anything, into the far loop over here, into that space. I think it's 1, 2, I think it is the 3rd chain. So you want to go into the chain, not into this chain space. You see there's that. Keeps it from sliding around too much, I think. So anyway, that's the 2nd row, or the 3rd row actually. The 1st row was this one granny, and then these 2 granny clusters, and now we've got a granny cluster, a 3 bean stitch, and then another granny cluster. So let's go 3 chains, turn your work, and do 2 more double crochets to make a granny cluster in the top of this double crochet on the end. So I've got 2 spaces here that we're going to go straight into double crochet into the first space, put 2 more double crochets. So this is just a granny row, okay? So you do the same thing, 3 double crochets into this space over here. Now, I'm not sure if this is a jasmine stitch or what. Okay, so last granny square on the side here. I should say granny stitch, because it's just a 3 double crochet cluster. It reminds me of a granny square stitch. 1, 2, 3. Turn your work. There we go. Got to yarn over to make your double crochet. Okay, so now we have a space here, a space here, and a space here. We can do our jasmine stitch with the little beans. Okay, and we just go straight into the next one. We don't put any spaces or anything like that. No chains, just to space them out. The only spacing that you're going to get from this is the chain stitches between, like that. That's it. That helps space out the petals at the top. So they look distinct. Okay, so we did those 3 across. And then we do a granny stitch in the side here. Granny cluster. Okay. And that creates your edge so that it's pretty sturdy. 1, 2, 3. Okay, you got your 2 double crochets. Now we're going to do grannies all the way across. And where we put them is in between this granny and this bean stitch. And then between these 2 bean stitches, and between these 2, and between this bean and this granny's cluster. So all the way across, just granny stitches. and you put them into the spaces, not into the tops of the stitches. And you don't make any spacing between your granny stitches. There's no, chain or whatever between your granny stitches. Just one granny after another, one granny cluster. And one of the things I like about this this row, this granny row, I mean, it's not as fancy as your bean stitch row. It doesn't have that flowery look to it. But what it does do structurally is it helps pull it together, because your bean stitches tend to fan a little bit, and your granny stitch, even though it does fan a little bit, it doesn't fan as much as the bean stitches do. So you see it kind of pulls that, because it was going pretty far in a curve, and when you put that row of granny stitches, it cinches it back up, brings these guys together, you see, so they look a little bit more like a puff stitch, like they're puffing and not spreading as much. So that's what the row of granny squares between your bean puff stitches. And I think it looks good on both sides, honestly. This is the right side, but I think it looks good on both sides. So I don't think it'll matter which way you push it if you're wearing it one way or the other. Turn your work after those 3 chains, and then do 2 more double crochets into the top. To make that cluster. Now we're going to do bean clusters again. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more. Remember to yarn over before you start doing the bean stitch. Like the first thing you do is you yarn over. Okay, that's one. Let's do another one right here. And remember to pull up your yarn when you're making this so that the bean stitches are long. Okay. And the last stitch in the this row goes into the side, right here under 2 loops, and it's 3 double crochets for a granny cluster. Okay, so that's what it looks like so far. Next row is a granny row. The row after that will be another bean row, and so on until you run out of yarn. This is a one-skein wonder, and I will meet you back when I'm at the end. All right, I'm back. This is the whole cake. I've got just a teeny bit left. The last row that I ended on was the granny cluster row, and that ties it all together. So this is curling a little bit. Do you see that little bit of a curl here? So I'm going to block this, and I think that will will stop the curl. I do recommend ending on the granny row because then you've got the whole thing edged in a nice, already built in, you know, neat edge. So this is what it looks like, but I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Crochet your way today because it's the only time we have. Take care, and I'll see you next time.